as women, we think we have to be in a silo. We have to do it on our own, and not understanding that there's a whole, community, a whole world of women out here waiting for you to come be part of these different groups because we need your voice. I would love to see and encourage more women to seek out groups to be a part of, because you feel less isolated, you feel less lonely, and then you go, oh, wow, there is other people that are having the same challenges as I am as an entrepreneur.
Welcome to Inside the Speakeasy podcast. And if you're out there with a few thousand followers on your social media and wondering how to get your engagement to be 10x the average person who's got way more followers, you're going to want to listen today, because today I'm going to be talking to Sonia Ramirez, who is an absolute rock star hustler, been out there in the grind in Los Angeles and Orange County, California, in a world typically dominated by a lot of men. And she's been able to rise by tweaking her brand and doing a massive engagement with her social media. And she's going to show you some amazing tips on how she's been able to crush, plus some extra partnership secrets and how to get your mindset straight for the world she's playing in. I'm so excited. Welcome, Sonia Ramirez, the multi-unit queen.
Thank you, Eric. It's so great to be here.
Yeah, well, I mean, shoot. I mean, let's just get into some fun things. I mean, I've been hearing such amazing things about you. We're so excited to have you in our LA chapter. And I mean, you are just a powerhouse coming in full of energy, and you have such great ideas, and you are a hustler. I mean, I know that. And you and I were talking in the quote green room, if you will. And man, some of the things you do are just, I mean, it's so applicable to any one of us that are doing things out there. So just before we get into some of the kind of the tips and tricks of what you're doing and all the lessons you want to teach today, just give me some quick background. I mean, Southern California, were you always out in SoCal?
Yeah, born and raised in Orange County. I still
Okay.
live in Orange County, actually, but I do most of my business in Los Angeles. So I got a chance to visit both the LA chapter and the Orange County chapter. But Miro, my captain out in LA, he's the one that is like, I got to go to LA. Like I said, I'm out there probably 3 or 4 times a week. But yeah, born and raised here in Orange County.
Love it. Love it. And then you've been in the real estate game for how long now?
So it's been a decade now. So it's been 10 years, which I think, again, kind of applicable to what we're talking about. This is my fourth career as, in my adult life, really. And I love that because it's never too late to pivot, right? It's never too late to start something else. And so now it's been 10 years as a real estate developer out here in this Southern California market.
Wow, tough mind. You've done what, over 100 projects exited, and you've made lots of money for your investors. Is that right?
Yeah, so I build them. Most of the time we do ground up 2 to 4 unit builds, right? So I take a lot, whatever's on it, I knock it down, I build duplexes, triplexes, quads, I add ADUs. I always say my superpower is highest and best use. And then we take on investors and we pay double digit returns backed by the real estate that we build and that we sell.
Love it. Love it. Okay. And now I imagine I mean, you said it is your fourth major sort of move, and you've learned a lot, right? And there's certain things that have threaded, I imagine, across all four of your different kind of careers. So let's talk about a couple of those. And I'm excited to really get into, you may answer that. And then I want to really jump into, for our listeners, we're going to talk about, no matter where you are in your social media, how you've been really able to crush the engagement side, not so much the followers. I mean, the followers are still great, but just the engagement. So, I'm kind of planting a seed that we're going to get into that next, but tell me what else has been threaded through the different, careers you've had.
Well, I think I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. Ever since I was a kid, I would like sell trinkets and I would, I sold essays to pay for my study abroad in college. There was just always some kind of side hustle always going on, right, in my brain. And
Yep.
so even being an employee was kind of, this is not going to be for me long term. I knew that. And so, temp jobs, that kind of stuff, what I started off with. And I started off part time in Parks and Rec. And then I had a marketing company, I had a health and wellness store. Those didn't go anywhere. And then I spent 16 years in city government as a Parks and Rec supervisor. So again, I was able to kind of implement everything that I've always done. I had always built community. I was always very active in my community as, with city government, with like student government, right? With just anything. If I was like the host of the talent show and in elementary school, you know what I'm saying? Like I can
Yeah.
trace back all the things that I do now to how I grew up. And with parents that were really encouraging of like, as a first generation Latina, Mexican parents, right? Born here. I'm first generation. My brother, my sister were still born in Mexico. You would think that culturally it'd be very like, oh, don't do that. Don't make waves. Don't be loud. Don't. No, they were very encouraging. They're like, I'm the youngest. And I think maybe that helped. But they were always very like, what do you want to do? What crazy idea do you have? We're going to be here to support you. And
That's great.
Yeah, so that just kind of followed me through all my iterations of career that I had, right? So, like I said, I went from 16 years of city government, Parks and Rec. So I was a joiner, right? I got everybody out into these big community events. Again, I would MC thousands of people in the crowd, these big events. I had to put together partnerships and sponsorships and do all of the things to connect our community to be successful. So when I left and I started my own marketing company and then my health and wellness club, I took on that same attitude of we have to create community, you have to create a space, right? Whether it's digitally or whether it's in person, you always have to create the culture around the tribe that you want to attract. And so I've always taken that philosophy across it. And then 10 years ago, I found real estate. It was something that I had wanted to get into for a very long time. And then I finally had the opportunity. I wasn't tied to a city job. I wasn't tied to a 9 to 5. I had the time. I thought I had the resources. And I went, okay, I don't want to get my license. I'm not your realtor rock star. That's just not me. I wanted to get into the investment side immediately. And yeah, so I started through a path of what we call wholesaling, had no idea how to practically apply the course that I took. I spent $25,000 on a course
For you.
online, right? I just said, okay, I'm burning the boats. I'm taking my retirement and I'm doing this. And then I had no idea how to practically apply what I was doing. Right? And I'm like, okay, I have all this knowledge, don't know how to move forward. I was doing my marketing stuff, met a friend of a marketing client. We hit it off at her restaurant. She's a Persian lady. And we start talking, and he goes, who are you? And I said, I'm Nikki's marketing consultant. And I just said, who are you? And he's like, oh, I'm very good friends with Nikki. I'm a real estate developer. And I just went, really? And he said, oh, why are you interested in that? And I said, I've been looking for a mentor. And 2 days later, I'm in his office. We're talking. And he goes, look, you come do marketing for me. I teach you everything I know. And we built over 100 units together in 7.5 years. And then 2.5 years ago, I launched my own.
Wow,
So,
good for
yeah.
you. Good for you. Amazing. I love it. I love it. So, okay, so there's a lot of lessons learned in there, and we could jump around. I know we're going to get into some partnerships and your focus on that. I want to jump right into the social media side because,
Yeah.
talked earlier and recently, you've learned a lot about the engagement and what you're doing. We were saying that even though your followers might be less than others who have huge following, you're still winning the game because it's about the engagement, as we all know. It doesn't matter how many followers, if people aren't engaging and talking and all those things, they may not be purchasing and all that. So talk about what you've been doing and how that's actually helped you.
Well, there's kind of three pillars of how I run my business. And like I said, I think they kind of go across everybody's business is that it's perspective, projects, and partnerships, right? So those are my three P's. Those are my three pillars. And the perspective of what is working in my business changes across industries, right? But it's
Mhm.
also the inner perspective of how are you limiting your own self with limiting beliefs? What are you doing to manifest, to meditate, to pray, however you want to phrase it, right? So perspective is inward and outward. And so that's huge when I was online. So in particular to social media, I knew that I had built community before. And so I'm going, okay, I've done that live and in person. How do I now do that digitally? How do
Mm.
I make myself a presence? Because positioning and branding is huge, right? So I just went, okay, I need a name. So when I started venturing out on my own, people were asking me, I think my handle at that time was your realtor, Sonia. And I just
Yeah.
went, I'm not really a realtor. Like I did that because of, at least it said real estate. I said, I'm a developer. I know I'm a developer. I don't really I hang my license as a side effect. So I really started looking at it. I started researching it, going multifamily. No, it's not really because multifamily is usually bigger. It's apartments, that kind of stuff. So I fell on multi-unit queen, and the queen comes from my nephew. My nephew, from when he was little, when he was 3 and he's 18 now, he used to call me Auntie Queen. And he'd
Yeah.
actually call me Auntie Queen of the pot stickers. And I'm like, can we just shorten that to Auntie
Yeah,
Queen?
there you go.
And so that's been my nickname in my family forever. And I said, I'm really going to lean into the identity, right? So multi-unit queen was born, self-proclaimed, right? I did my research, my due diligence, make sure that the website was
Great,
available,
great
make
name, by
sure
the
that
way.
the
That's
handle
great.
is very, recognizable, right? When
Yeah.
people see me now at events, they're like, Queen, how you do it? It's amazing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
again, talk about a validation where you're feeling good all the time. Every time you walk into a room and people are calling you queen, that's amazing. Right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of a after effect of it. But like I said, I actually researched to make sure name was available, LLC was available, website was available, all the social handles were available. And I went, okay, this is it going forward. Right. And there was a moment, Eric, where I had to decide as a brand, was I going to be a personal brand and I was going to be the face of my brand? Or was the brand going to be more about the projects and the work behind the scenes and not be the face of the project? And I
Mm.
think that's a very personal decision that people have to make because some people just are not comfortable in front of the camera or they're too self conscious to understand that you're going to get comments about, especially as women, as women, we're going to get comments about our looks, about our body, no matter what industry. You have to be ready that you're going to get a lot more judgment on yourself and your physical appearance as any man would be online. It's just the reality of being a woman in our society. So
Mm.
that's part of the consideration that I had to think about when I said, okay, am I going to be the face or am I not going to be the face? And, you know, interestingly enough, I had lost over 180 pounds in the
Oh,
last
wow.
5 years, but
Oh,
my
good for you.
persona online started before that. So it
Okay.
was never this idea of like, oh, if I'm too heavy, I can't do this. If I'm, that's never been an issue. The confidence and the level of self love has always been here. So that never was a limiting belief to me. So losing the weight hasn't really affected it one way or the other. I just think it's an interesting thing the way that people react to me now as opposed to them. But I was still
Yeah.
doing the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
So that's been huge. So social media, like we said, is I started really organically building, 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 right? And it would be at every single event. I decided that in person, people meeting me, once they met me, they were very engaged and said, okay, I want to follow her. And so by design, I go to one or two networking events a week in person, and then I speak at an event a month. So through that kind of engagement, people will start following me. And at first I was having people just follow me on Instagram, but I didn't have any way to make sure I stay connected to them. So I wasn't really building community. I was building a following. Right. And then I realized that I needed a CRM. I needed to put them into an actual funnel so I can stay connected with them. But what happened with the engagement, like I think we talked about this on my Instagram, I have a little bit less than 5,000. On my Facebook, I think I have another 5,000. And then I'm starting to get up on TikTok, right? Like I don't post that much on TikTok and LinkedIn. So probably a little bit under 15,000 in general. And I see a lot of my peers, especially my male peers that have, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 followers. And I'm always just like, wow, how did you guys get there? What do you guys do? But then when they started seeing my analytics, which I'm obsessed with, I love watching my analytics to see what hits, what doesn't, you know, they were like, your engagement is off through the roof. They're like, you have 5,000 followers, but you're getting 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 views, sometimes 7,000 views. You're getting more views than followers. Your engagement is insane. And I hadn't thought about that perspective. I had not thought of that at all. I just thought, oh man, my views are low.
Right.
But
Right.
relative to the size of my following, yeah,
Really
they
high.
get
Yeah.
amazing engagement. Yeah. And I think we talked about this. I watched my 30-day view count between my stories, my reels, and all this stuff. And it's normally 50 to 65,000 is where I've topped out on a 30-day run.
Got it. So, I mean, a couple things in there. I mean, I love the fact that you are studying the engagement and you're looking at the data to say what's working, what's not, which is just going that extra step. So many of us just post and get on with our day and just do another post and just hope things will happen magically. And you're out there saying, well, let me actually see what's happening in here. I'm also going to reflect that you talked about how you're building more relationships as you get followers too. You're really getting out there and people are seeing you on stages so that you are more credible when they do follow you, and so they're more likely to listen when, post. But what else have you been doing to get that engagement? Why is it higher than the average person?
I think again, I have a different style. And again, this is a choice that I made between content creation and content documentation, right? So when you create content, it's very curated. It's only about whatever your business is, right? It's very niche to that's it. That's all I'm going to do. My personal life is my personal life. I decided to do the opposite, right? I document everything. I go on a date. I would document it with permission, right? So it's not just the behind the scenes of my projects and me raising capital and me doing those things. It's my everyday life. And that has created more of a parasocial relationship with my audience because they'll see me go from Orange County up to LA, out to San Bernardino, Inland Empire to do another event, back down to South Orange County. Like they'll see me, driving for hours in my Jeep. It's like another character of my story that you see me in my Jeep all the time. And, I'll show up to an event not thinking that I just posted, 3 videos today, and I'll show up the next day to an event and they'll be like, "Sonia, I was so tired yesterday and I saw you running around going from this event to that event." And I was like, "If Sonia can do it, I can do it." And I'm just like, "Oh my gosh," right? I just went, "That's amazing feedback. That means everybody really is watching, even though you think you're posting into the abyss, right?" But I
Right.
think that's the biggest I think honestly, I think that has been the biggest difference is that because I have a documentation style and it's again authentic, bad day, good day, it's not always just here's the great project that I just finished. Here's all the problems I had with this. Here's the challenges. Here's the things that are happening. Being able to pull back the curtain on my business and my life, I think make people feel again like they're part of my community. They're part of my tribe because they're either there crying with me or cheering me on.
How many times a day are you posting?
So this is where I was not great is that I wasn't posting reels and posts very often. I would be posting 10 to 15 stories probably a day just because again, I document style, right? I would post one in the morning. This is what's happening depending on the day. And I do like to repost content as well. So I repost content that's relative to the real estate markets, to relative to what's going on in the economy. I do get political and I get I was a very social activist growing up. So I do post those things as well because that's part of who I am. And again, I know a
Sure.
lot of people are afraid of cancer culture and, they're like, I'm going to stay away from those topics. And I'm like, no, people who are going to do business with me need to know where I stand on things. And I'm
Yeah.
okay with that,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I mean, it's great. I mean, so really, it sounds like, when you start to meet people, you're doing the extra work to continue to post, to continue to talk about stuff. And it's almost like some kind of like, it's an ongoing life. People feel like they have this relationship with you, whether they know you or not. They're like, "What's Sonya up to? What's going on? Oh my God, almost like they want to root for you now." And I can see how that's happening and why you're getting that engagement. And it didn't come from luck. You're doing the hustle. You're talking the talk, doing the things that it takes. And I imagine this takes work. I mean, you're posting and you're naturally good at it. And you're not afraid, like you said, just to let people into my life. This is me, and some people are going to like it and they're going to continue following you. And now those that are following you, I imagine now you're building this funnel, right? I mean, this is sort of a different marketing funnel, I imagine. So walk me through that. Like what happens as a result of this now? Welcome to Inside the Speakeasy podcast, the private room where today's sharpest founders, innovators, and renegade thinkers come to trade the ideas that move industries. This show is brought to you by High Level, the AI-driven business operating system trusted by over 2 million businesses to help automate, scale, and create real leverage. High Level isn't just a tool, it's the engine behind some of the most agile and high-performing teams on the planet. If you're ready to streamline everything, amplify your reach, and actually build a business that works for you, you're in the right place. Visit www.gohighlevel.com/speakeasy-mastermind-promo to get an exclusive 30-day trial for being a listener of the Inside the Speakeasy podcast. Enjoy the show.
well, yeah. So I put on my first masterclass last year because in my speaking engagements and in person, they're like, when are you going to actually teach this? And using AI as much as I do as well, right? I use AI, I use chat, I use Gemini primarily, and just had this great speakeasy conversation last week in the group where they blew my mind with how much more AI I could be using. So now I'm
Yep.
deep diving into that. But even just the scratch the surface type of AI that I use it every day. And so I would constantly be like, okay, what's the next iteration? Like, what is my next step? One of the really cool tips that I heard probably on a TikTok video was to ask whatever AI you're using to act as someone who you really respect and have them give you advice about your business. And one
Mm.
of the people, I thought that was such a cool prompt. And I was like, you know what? One of the people that I've always loved the way he spoke, and unfortunately he's passed away, is Jim Rohn.
Mhm.
And again, this is just a business person, not a real estate person, right? And I
That
love his cadence. I love his real simplistic way of just putting it out there. And so I had AI act as Jim Rohn and tell me what needed to happen in my business to get it to the next level. And
yeah.
it was mind blowing to me. But one of the things that came out of it was like, it is your time to teach. It is now
Mhm.
time to harness the information, what Miro calls my $1 billion brain, is like, it is now time to monetize that and to
Yep.
do this in another way. And so that started me down the path of, okay, I have this community, I have this engagement. Let me start putting my masterclass together. Now, launching the community in April fully, it has created this amazing funnel where you already have engagement. You already have people that have been waiting for me to do these things. So we're going to start beta testing that in April and then hopefully launching it on a larger scale, at the end of the year in Q4. So this is an exciting next step that came from doing all the work, right? So,
Love it. I love it. Let's talk a little bit about, because it kind of leads into one thing you've also noticed is your entire career, you've been figuring out ways to find partnerships to grow your business. So
mhm.
again, for all of us listening, that's some great tips on the social media. I love that. What do you do to build up your business through partnerships? And what are some maybe common mistakes you feel like people aren't taking advantage of that we should be?
Well, with more exposure I think it's a double-edged sword. You do get more opportunities, but that doesn't mean all the opportunities are great, right? So you have to have some discernment when it comes to your partnerships. And again, what does a natural partnership look like for you, right? Like I said, for real estate, there's very natural partners. There's title companies and escrow companies and other realtors and realtor associations, like big on the national level and on the local level. So those are the ones that I target my partnerships with because I understand that the one to one is important, but the one to many is really what's going to get me the exposure
Okay.
that I need to continue the
Mhm.
partnerships. Right. So
Yep.
I
Yep.
do a mix. This is why by design, like I said, in my business, I go out and I meet everyone at events that are not mine. I hold my own events, but I go to support other people's events for the same reason. Cause I'm like, all right, I'm going to come and support. And if I post about it and I say, hey, I'm going to be here, I know that's going to help that event bring in a couple more people. Cause again, that's the kind of feedback that I've gotten like, hey, Sonia, you posted about it. So I knew you were going to be there. So I went. And so I'm like, oh, that's great. That way I get to support the people that I want to be in partnership with. So it's not just can we be partners, is what value am I bringing to the partnership as well? Right. So
That's right.
is it a natural fit? Is it a good opportunity? And when you have clarity around your destination, when you have clarity around your objective as a business, it's very easy to just discern what's a good opportunity, what's not a good opportunity, because it doesn't move the needle for my objectives. Right.
Okay.
So if it's in alignment with my goals for my business, then this is a good opportunity. Let me take a look at it. If it's not, then thank you. Maybe next time, maybe, when I'm more in that. So I think discernment and clarity and alignment are huge when it comes to partnerships, and as women, I think we do have a lot of intuition. So I think that becomes part of it as too. I don't think that should be dismissed. And the biggest part, like I said, is vetting out the people that you want to do business with. You don't want to get into business with somebody who has a horrible reputation or who has scam people or, you have to be, again, as you're growing your audience and you're growing your brand, you have to discern where am I gonna attach my name to it? Because you don't
Yep.
wanna get into a bad situation where the PR of somebody else affects you, and that you have to use your brand equity to go into your community and say, "Hey, I screwed up," right? Which
Yep.
happens. It's gonna happen, I think, for
Yep.
everybody. But if you built up enough brand equity, your community, your followers, your people, your other partners will go, "Okay, we know who you are. We get you. You've built up enough brand equity with us. We can dismiss
Yep.
that." The partnerships that I have put out over the years have really this year started to accelerate everything that I'm doing. Obviously, I'm working with a manifestation coach with Miro. All of those things have helped, but the partnerships now, I have a book coming out, Latinas in Construction Volume 2. So I'm a contributing editor there. I've been asked to be part of a magazine, the 2026 Powerful Voices. Last night, I just got a call of being participating in a movie documentary style, talking about
Wow.
successful entrepreneurs. And it's like, all of these opportunities are coming to fruition because I focus on partnerships and connecting with people in real life. and networking. And again, positioning, proximity, power, all of that sphere
Yep.
together has brought these opportunities to my door. And now, again, like we talked about, now it's just discernment. Which one makes sense for me? Which one aligns the best with my brand and with my business?
Yeah. And I want to go back to something you said earlier. I don't want to, I think it was a key point because you're speaking my language on the partnership side. And even
Yeah.
my upcoming book, Proximity Pays What You're Living. And you're going to be a big fan of the stories, I have a feeling. I think you said once you found that partner, you said the magic words. You said, how can I provide value to this partner? First, you're looking in there and saying, what can I do to bring them an opportunity to say, wait a second, I can play here. I can be good for you before you were really asking for anything from them.
Right.
You understand that's what you need to do. But I think in the world we're living in, the world of AI and others, I mean, I think partnerships are so critical right now, going eyeball to eyeball, getting out of our desks and meeting people and serving people and showing them how you can provide value is such a massive advantage for those that do that, in my opinion, because we're finding the trust meter right now is really, is really sketchy, hard to figure out who to trust. And, you got to get in front of people now these days. So I think, I mean, I love everything you said. And I think, spot on there. And I hope people really, dig into that a lot more. Last thing I want to talk about is, you're passionate about, women being more present in this male dominant space. You obviously know what it's like to be in those shoes and some of the, the challenges that some of us men take for granted. You're right. We don't know what it's like to, I certainly wouldn't know what it's like to be in your shoes, but talk to us a little about your passion towards that and maybe advice or encouragement you have for those who might be listening.
Well, like I said earlier, Eric, heavier, Latina, I never in my head said, I don't belong here, right? You want to go hiking? You want to go whitewater rafting? Sure, let's go. You want to travel around the world? Sure, let's go. I never had the limiting belief of I can't because X, Y, and Z. And again, I took that attitude into my business, but I understand that's not most people's, unfortunately, experience, right? Their experience is society has told me I can't, I shouldn't, I'm not good enough. The imposter syndrome is real, right? And I always tell, especially women, like, if you're in the room, it's because you were supposed to be there. You didn't fake
Mhm.
your way in there. You're supposed to be there. And whether that's to learn, to lead, that's up to you, right? But never question where Gus has put you. I say Gus, we got to talk about this, Eric, because some people say God, some people say universe, some people say source. We just call it Gus, God, universe, and
Yes. Okay.
source. Gus has got my back, right? And so, yeah, I think you're in the room because you're supposed to be there. You're in that location, you're in that business, you're in that trade because you're supposed to be there. And women don't get taught that from early age. They get taught that they have a space that they're
Yep.
supposed to fill.
Yep.
And I mean, I get it, right? I've been on work sites and I get asked if I'm the wife. I get asked if I'm the assistant, right? I get asked if I'm the interior designer. I've never assumed that I'm the developer, that this is my project, that I own this, right? It's very rare unless they know me that they're like, oh,
Wow.
it's Sonia, right? And again,
Wow.
I don't take offense to it. I understand that it's society. So that's where, even though I'm very proud and I'm very assertive in my nature and in my energy, I don't ever take offense to it because I understand where people are coming from. And it
Yep.
almost is like this cool thing that I get to do to show them that, no, I'm the developer, I'm the owner here. And they're like, oh, right. It creates conversations instead of conflict. And that's where
Yep.
I'm really big on, this is where the feminine energy that comes in is beneficial, right? It is not a hindrance to us to be able to smile and say, "No, I'm the developer," right? I don't get
Yep.
angry about it. Like I said, I recognize it, and sometimes it's frustrating to me, but I don't get angry about it because I'm going, "Okay, this is just an opportunity to show somebody something different and to shift their perspective where they never thought about it before." How cool is that?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in my one of my favorite quotes from my mentor, business partner, still of all these years, Brian Tracy, is I am responsible, and part of that is how you respond to any situation, and I see a lot of that in you. You're saying, look, what am I going to do? This is society. I'm responsible for how I respond to this. Now, I could be
Right.
angry and frustrated, and angry at all the men that are judging and all that, or you could say, you know what, I could choose to take a different tact and kind of have fun with it. You know, be the queen and say, "This is
Exactly.
my by the way," and kinda laugh at it, and actually, and I'm putting myself in the shoes of thinking through that, and actually, it almost elevates you even more in my opinion, like, wow, she's this, but she must really be a bad. It's almost like it creates this. So I think you're dead on, and I love your angle of that, and it's great. I think it's important for everybody to take that lesson. I mean, just you're a rock star. That's I almost look at it. It's like, look, that's their problem. That's their loss that they think
Oh,
that way.
completely.
You know, I mean, too bad for them that they have this judgment, and maybe someday they'll figure that out and get that fixed, and they'll learn their lesson someday. But not my problem. I know who I am. I'm confident, and we're gonna, and I'm gonna, do a great job for this person if that's what they need, and show once again why women are amazing. We have more power, and I'm proud because I think probably at least half our members are females and badass entrepreneurs. So, I'm a
Well,
believer.
again, like at our last LA meeting, I was the only woman there at our
Ooh,
meeting just because some of the ladies couldn't make it that day, right? And I was
yeah,
like, "Oh, I'm the only lady here today." I thought that was exciting to me. I was just
yeah,
again, it didn't make me have the sense of like, "Oh man, should I speak up? Should I not say anything?" I was like, "Great. Now they're going to hear my perspective as a female here." So, I
good,
think again, we lose that opportunity being way too much in our head as women, right? And
yeah,
like I'm reading the science of scaling right now. And
yeah,
the idea of going really deep on one thing to me is a very male driven concept because women
mm,
don't think in one dimension, right?
yeah,
If you talk to, I'm not a mom, right? I don't have any kids, but if you talk to any mother, the amount of stuff that they have to handle on a daily basis between
crazy,
work and family and household and everything, it's like the mom brain, I call it mom brain, even though I'm not a mom, like I said, is you don't build a bridge just from A to B with one lane, right?
yeah,
That's how men build bridges.
yeah,
Women build a bridge from A to B with 7 lanes across that gets us to the same destination, but we understand all the nuances of the things that
that's
have to
right,
work together to get us there, right?
that's right.
And so it's again, it's not good or bad. It's just different. It's
It's
different. We
different, it's
think
different, that's right.
differently.
We're more, binary, and the women are more gray, and I've been blessed in I'm an EO as well. In my forum, we have women in there, and it's like, I've learned so much, and I'm like, I could not be in a mastermind group without females because it's like, we're such idiots if we don't. Like, it's like, almost like I mean, really, because I just learned so much. I mean, it's such a different perspective. It's hilarious when it's like, you'll see the guys, like, have a debate about something, and all of a sudden, the woman will speak up and say, "You guys have it so wrong." Like, you haven't thought of it, so, like, this is the angle, especially if they think they anyway, so we're aligned here, I love it.
Oh, I was gonna say, you just touched on something that I think is really important is that
Yeah,
I don't see the level of women in masterminds that I feel like we should have.
yeah,
And again, I think men seek out community of like-minded individuals, not necessarily other men, but like-minded individuals when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. I think they understand that inherently because of sports and conditioning again and everything of I need to find people that think like me. And as women, we think we have to be in a silo. We have to do it on our own. This is the way I think. This is, and not understanding that there's a whole community, a whole world of women out here waiting for you to come be part of these different groups because we need your voice. And so, I'm very intentional about the groups that I join. I'm part of two different masterminds, but over the last 10 years, I had opportunities to join endless groups and I just didn't feel that there was a lot of value there for me, right? Speakeasy spoke to me immediately and I was like, there's value here. I want to be part of it, but also because I can contribute, not just because I thought there was value. It's like if I can't show up and I can't contribute, then I shouldn't be there. And again, I would love to see and encourage more women to seek out groups to be a part of because you feel less isolated, you feel less lonely, and then you go, oh wow, there is other people that are having the same challenges as I am as an entrepreneur. So it really helps to us along the journey and the growth as entrepreneurs to find our tribe for sure.
I love it, and you spoke on it a little bit, and I'd love for you to share. I know it hasn't been very long you've been in Speakeasy, but so far too, yeah, Jan and what have you enjoyed so far, just out of the gates?
Well, I mean, like I said, out of the gate, I really did find valuable conversation, right? Because coming from a little bit of a marketing background myself, I was like, oh, yes, these are the things that I need to be doing more in my business. That I found invaluable because, again, it has opened my eyes to things that I hadn't even thought of or that I didn't realize were on the trends and on the horizon. So that has been huge. The resources that everybody wants to share, right? It feels we call it the go-giver kind of energy, right? Instead
Mm,
of go-getter, you're the go-giver, right? So you're
mhm,
gonna try to give first instead of trying to see what you can get out of it. I look for that energy in groups that I want to be a part of. And I found that in Speakeasy right away with Miro inviting me, I think, to the Christmas party, even
yep,
before I was a member. And then January was the first meeting that I decided to attend. Then I became a member. And then February, I spoke at the February event. So it
Yep.
was like, hey, do you want to present at the February meeting? I said, yeah, great. I will be the presenter. And so I jumped right in. I jumped right into participating. And again, to me, that's was worth it, right? Because I'm going, I need to bring value. I need to, not only
Love it.
that, again, you're talking about proximity and positioning and branding. It, even though I enjoy giving value, I understand that also puts me in front of a bigger audience that starts the partnership conversation with everyone. That's why I decided to sign up for the podcast. The same reason, right? I was like, this is my third month as a member. Yeah, let's do the podcast. I went to your, what was it called? The referral party,
Mhm.
right? And again, it was just like, great, referral party, let's go. I've already talked to 3 members from that and have started making connections just from the
Love
referral
it.
party that booked one-on-one calls with me. And I just was like, okay, again, the intentionality of the group is we are going to connect. And I love that.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you. Is there anything today that I didn't ask you that maybe I should have, or any other last words of wisdom?
Well, my social medias, right? So again, they can find
Yeah.
me everywhere at Multi-Unit Queen. My
Love it.
website is the same thing, multiunitqueen.com. If they're looking at just real estate investment or just want to talk shop, I would love to connect with people. What else? I have events. I have an event coming up this Sunday on the 22nd, actually. So I have my own event, and I'm speaking in an event next week. So if they want to know where to actually meet me in person, my social media is definitely the best place to find me. So
Love it. Well, love it. Definitely, it's well worth it. Definitely connect with Sonia Ramirez and check her out, all the amazing things she's doing, and really also watch how she's doing it. More importantly, so you can get some great tips and maybe model things she's up to. And you can always reach out to her and share and collaborate. She's such a giver. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
thank you, Eric.
And that's a wrap from the Speakeasy podcast. If something sparked for you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, review it, and pass it to the one person who needs to hear this right now. Want in on the real mastermind? Tap the link in the show notes to apply. Until next time, keep scaling, stay sharp, and don't be the smartest one in the room.